Welcome back to Life, Dorchester's only hyperlocal podcast with news, content, and analysis. I am remote today. I'm in Manhattan, but Bill is holding down the fort down in Dorchester. Hey, Bill.
Hey, somebody's got to stick around and do some work around here. What are you doing in Manhattan?
I'm actually doing work, which is, the irony. But
you don't do this full time. This isn't like
I don't do this full time. Someday, maybe.
You would never know that. I'm lowercase Bill Forry back on Zoom here again. I don't know if you can see that on the broadcast. I guess you can't. But yeah, I'm happily back in Dorchester. It's a beautiful day while we're recording this. So we're going to try to keep this show nice and crisp so we can go back outside. You can hit the streets of Manhattan. I can hit the streets of Dorchester, and we'll
all be happy. Before we get into topics, I think we do have to do our traditional football NFL recap. So Bills, victorious. We're 2-0 over the Jets. This episode is going to run after tomorrow's Thursday night football game against the Dolphins. So we could be 3-0. I think there's a good chance we'll be 3-0, especially based on the Dolphins' performance against you guys last week.
Right. Well, the Dolphins are also going to be a little salty having lost to the Patriots last Sunday. We've got the Steelers. I believe it's a 1:00 game on Sunday. So people may not know the outcome of that just yet, but
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and he had a big win. They're 1-1. We're 1-1, I believe. Yeah. So
yeah, I have to say that Patriots Dolphins game was a nail biter, right down to I think overtime. Right? Did it go to overtime?
Yeah. No, it didn't go to overtime. We won it in regular clock, but yeah, it was right down to the wire. And I guess the Dolphins coach blamed himself for the loss.
I think Dolphins coach is in. This might be his last game. We'll see. He's in some hot water.
Well, he's in hot water if he's playing your team. And how's Josh Allen's nose doing? I heard that was an issue.
Nothing can slow that man down. So I think he's going to be okay. But it's a little bigger.
Well, good luck on Thursday night.
Thank you. And good luck to you guys on Sunday. I'm fine with you winning until you play us. So.
Okay.
So we've got that out of the way. What else are we going to cover this week? Let me give a quick rundown and we'll jump into it. So we do have to touch on Josh Kraft's announcement. I know we posted that on socials because it happened after we recorded last week, but the fact that he's left the race. We'll also talk about some new police recruits who are hitting the streets in Dorchester and throughout Boston. We've got some White Stadium news and a little bit of development news. So where do you want to start, Bill? You want to talk about Josh Kraft?
Yeah, let's just talk about that quickly because, our audience did not know. We did not know last time we recorded that Josh was going to drop out. We did speculate that he might and what he could do. And it turned out to be pretty close to what happened, that Josh Kraft decided to exit the race last Thursday. He formally withdrew his name last Friday from the ballot. So right now, Michelle Wu would be unopposed on the ballot for November 4th. There is a recount option with Domingos DeRosa, who is presently not on the November ballot, but could be if he gets up to 3,000 votes. He was well short of that on election night, so it's unlikely. But there will be a recount in 10 wards to see if Domingos would make the ballot. I wouldn't count on it. And, just to button up on Josh Kraft, I think he did the right thing. Josh Kraft read the room. Having been walloped by 49 points on September 9th. He also, I think, struck the right tone in saying, look, we don't need another 2 months of backbiting, mudslinging, especially at the moment in this political environment. It's not going to be productive for him in victory. There was just too big of a gap, and his money could be better spent, frankly. And whoever advised him on that, kudos. It's a good call. Massencast, where he'll direct a good sum of his $3 million that he was going to pour into the general election, can be put to better use. I think it's the right move.
I think the kudos goes to you, Bill. I think he listened to the episode.
There's no way. I know for a fact it wasn't because of us.
The episode didn't come out until after he made that decision, so we can't take credit. You can't take credit, but you had the right idea.
The universe of folks were talking it into his existence, and he had the good. I think the good sense to pick up on that. So well done to him. Michelle Wu, we've already said everything I think needs to be said about her powerful victory, and now the question will turn to at large in particular. But that's fodder for another show.
Yeah. Do you think this is the end of the road for him politically, or you think he'll be back?
I don't think he'll be back politically. I don't.
Okay.
That's my gut reaction. I think he can contribute plenty, and plenty of folks do. And maybe someday he'll be thankful that he didn't win mayor of Boston in this moment. Who knows? But certainly he can contribute mightily in many, many ways, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah. Yeah. Kudos to him. Good decision making. Time to move on for us and for him. Let's move on to the story that was on the front page of the Reporter this week, which is about new recruits in the police department and more. These are cops who will actually be walking the streets.
Yeah, there's 100 new officers who just graduated from the police academy in August, and they were assigned to their positions at districts all over the city last Monday, September 8th. So they're actively on patrol or in cars. Many of them are on walking patrols, according to the police captains that we talked to. So I want to step back and say there are actually four police districts that include parts of Dorchester, but there are two major ones, Area C11 and Area B3. Both of them are getting 19 or 20 new police officers each, according to the sources we talked to this week. That's good news, especially for B3. Area B3 includes most of the western side of Dorchester along the Blue Hill Avenue corridor, and includes Mattapan as well. And they're not having a good year so far, performance-wise, on crime stats. There's been an uptick in homicides from 3 last year to 6 so far this year. This is year-to-date numbers. There's been 50 additional aggravated assaults on the B3 district this year compared to last year. So they have an overall increase of right now about 15%, which is the worst increase we've seen in the city of Boston this year. Overall, across the city, it's a 4% decrease in Part 1 crime or serious crime, which has been well reported. Michelle Wu and others, rightfully so, can proclaim that Boston's one of the safest cities in
Yeah.
America, if not the safest big city. But there's been 25 homicides recorded so far this year, as opposed to 16 in that same time period last year. So that's not good. There's clearly been some property crime and theft going on. And a lot of it's because B3 and B2, which is another district centered in Roxbury, have seen increases on many of the categories. So reinforcements are needed. They've just arrived. They're not enough. There's more police ranks that need to be filled. There's been a nationwide attrition in police departments. There's been a lot of retirements. There's been a lot of early exits by police officers. It's a tough profession, and it's a tough profession to recruit to. So this is a welcome infusion. We also reported this week that there's another class that's going to come on later for next year that's going to be recruited over the latter part of this year. And there's actually another class that's in the academy right now. It's a smaller class. It's not 100. It's something less than that will graduate later this year. So there is help on the way, and it's needed. So I do want to mention on the C11 police district, which is Eastern Dorchester, essentially, east of Washington Street up to Columbia Road. So coastal Dorchester, in part, has had a good year so far. There is a significant decrease. We went from 7 homicides last year at this time to 2 so far this year. That's good direction. There's been fewer aggravated assaults and an overall decrease in crime. Captain Steve Sweeney, who's the commander there, talked to us this week about how he's going to deploy additional resources and try to get, targeted enforcement done in stores and try to, tackle some quality of life issues. Now, things are not perfect on the C11 district. Just in the last month, we've reported on 2 alleged carjackings that have happened. One in Savin Hill, which involved a shooting of a victim who was shot in the abdomen in a broad daylight attack. Very concerning. This was at the end of August, still under investigation. 2 suspects on a moped, essentially a scooter, attacked somebody, which was crazy. And then just this past weekend, there was an alleged carjacking, and I say alleged because all the facts aren't out, but there is quite a bit of evidence in a long police report. A young woman who was accosted when she was parking her car on Shepton Street, which is between Florida and Dorchester Ave, in the Ashmont Adams slash St. Mark's area. And she was accosted at gunpoint. The thieves, 5 young teenagers were involved, allegedly, stole the car, and she had her phone in the car. So that was pretty dumb. The police were able to track that car down, and eventually there was a massive sweep, Erin, that night. It was late night, like 2:45 in the morning when this happened last Saturday, and police ended up detaining and arresting 5 young men, 3 of whom have been charged so far. But it's an ongoing investigation. But that's a pretty serious incident, and 2 carjackings in the last month is something to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, and we've seen carjackings go up across the country, especially in places like DC, where violent crime is actually going down, but carjackings are going up. So I hate to see that trend here.
Yeah, I hope it's not a trend. I wouldn't call it a trend just yet here. But it's got people's attention, and people in Savin Hill in particular from that shooting incident were very up in arms, kind of demanding answers as to what's going on with that investigation. And for good reason. I mean, we have to be vigilant. My counsel, I guess, having done this for 30 years, would be, to stay vigilant. And yes, we have reasons to be hopeful in Boston that our crime numbers are better than other cities, but they're far from perfect. And
Yeah.
it's good news to have new young officers and a diverse class, about more than 30% women in this class, and a lot of intentional recruitment within police families. And it's being reflected in the demographics of this class and the ones that are coming up next as well.
When you say police families, you mean people who have already had police officers in their in their actual families?
Yeah, Seth
Oh, neat.
Daniel, our news editor, talked to one of they actually, there's a tradition with the police academy when the class graduates and before they start their jobs, they do a run from the police academy to police headquarters. And Seth covered that run, and a lot of neighbors came out along Blue Hill Avenue to cheer this class on. And one of the women that Seth talked to is a police officer, a woman of color, has only been on the police department for 3 or 4 years, but she recruited her younger brother to be part of this class. And she was there holding a sign, a lot of people holding flags and saluting the police officers as they ran by. And so and she told us that's an intentional thing that the commissioner and the mayor have encouraged current police officers, tell the good news about your experience here, get other people like you, other family members even, to consider becoming a cadet. So
Yeah.
that's part of the story.
You almost had me until you said there was a running involved, and now I'm not going to do it.
Are you sure? I don't know. I think you'd be a great cop. You should give it a second. Give it a second thought.
I'll think about it.
There's another
Yeah.
class coming there, and I'll send you the application.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on the crime data, and
Yeah.
thankful for new recruits to help kind of alleviate some of what's going on. But let's talk about White Stadium
Sure.
because that's some exciting news. New funding.
Yeah, that was another page one story for us this week. It happened midweek when we learned from the Boston Legacy Football Club that they've secured the financing, $100 million finance loan from Bank of America that we've been wondering about, and a lot of the media in Boston have been asking about for the last 2 months. It's good news for supporters of the club, great news for obviously the team and Mayor Wu. Politically, it's a sign. It's actually kind of the final piece that was needed to get the stadium built. There was some slowdown in construction even over the summer because this financing piece hadn't been nailed down. The city of Boston wanted this nailed down back earlier in August. The team asked for an extension, which ended on Monday, and on Tuesday they announced that it had been signed, in fact. And what it means is that the contractors can get busier. They obviously have an object of getting this stadium finished in time for it's supposed to be done later in 2026. We'll see. But for sure, it has to be ready for this team to be playing at White Stadium in 2027.
Yeah. Okay.
You know that they're going to do their 2026 season in Foxborough at Gillette. But they expect this place to be open, White Stadium now, to be open in time for the spring 2027 season. And I think that this is the news that everybody was waiting for. There was some skepticism as to whether this would happen or not. And if it didn't happen, it was really going to be a kind of a disaster for the stadium's already torn down and
Right.
midstream. We've been a big political problem for the mayor. And I have to speculate, I don't have solid proof of this, that the timing of this announcement had to do with the outcome of the election. These financing packages, especially a $100 million one, takes a long time to put together. So
Yeah.
it's not a snap of the finger deal. But I do think that the rollout and the announcement, one of the things we saw from the mayor's victory was solid support, convincing support in those precincts and wards that surround Franklin Park. And I think that was a real boost for stadium supporters to see that. And bank lenders who are putting $100 million on the line would like to see that. Has the political support behind it, and it now pretty clearly does.
And the neighborhood is for it because, we talked to Mike Omenazu from Legacy Football Club last season on the podcast, and he was adamant that, there's a lot of loud voices who are against it, but there's a lot more voices who are for it. And they've done a lot of listening and a lot of addressing of concerns. And I think, those neighborhoods would not be on board with Michelle Wu if they didn't feel that the stadium was a benefit to them in general.
I think that that's probably right. I mean, yes, there are some folks who voted for the mayor who probably don't love the stadium. I know that for a fact. But look, this is the one chance we have really in the city to register that vote. And if you feel that strongly, I know some people do, against the stadium idea, this was the chance. And it's a victory for the mayor, but it's also, frankly, in my view, a victory for Boston Public School kids who are going to be using this facility. Whatever you feel about the soccer franchise, if it works, if it doesn't work, there's going to be a stadium here that Boston kids are going to use for generations to come, and that's good news.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. In the renovation space, we've got some news from the Epiphany School, Shawmut area development, which probably has about the same percent of supporters and detractors.
Oh man. Yeah, next to White Stadium, this might have been the most contentious debate that we've covered over the last 4 or 5 years. And this is a project called 150 Center Street at Shawmut. It's proposed by Trinity Financial, which is a pretty well-known developer, built the Caruth building, built the Treadmark building, many developments across the decades here in Dorchester. And their proposal to build 72 units in a 4-story apartment building right next to Shawmut Station became really a flashpoint for neighbors and really in the development community at large in Boston. It's been held up for the last 2 years by lawsuits from neighbors, including the Epiphany School and others too in the Melville Park and the Shawmut community, who really didn't like this project because of the density. They thought it was too big. They also thought it was too, I guess, intrusive on the school itself. There were a lot of different factors in why people didn't like this. But at the end of the day, it did get approved by city officials. The Wu administration were actually included in the lawsuit because neighbors who didn't like the outcome sued the city along with the developer. But the story this week is that those lawsuits have been withdrawn. They are not advancing. The development team let us know last week that the last of those lawsuits is now over, settled, and so this project will go forward. It's 72 units, all affordable. They'll be built starting next year and probably take about 20 months to complete. And for folks who have been urging what's going on, why aren't we building more units? What's the holdup? Sometimes the holdup is that there's legal wranglings going on. It's certainly been the case for many of the developments in Dorchester over the last couple of years. So again, back to Mayor Wu, she was getting criticized pretty heavily by Josh Kraft for having all these units in the pipeline that haven't been built. Well, some of them aren't getting built because of from lawsuits from neighbors and abutters. In this case, you can put 72 units on the chalkboard for new affordable housing, probably now 2027.
So I don't want to dissuade people from filing lawsuits because if they think they have a reason why a project shouldn't go through, that's their right to do that. But on the other hand, do you have a sense of how much these lawsuits increases the cost of development overall.
Well, it certainly adds to the price tag for the development team here. I don't know the sum that they spent, but the break point in this lawsuit, from what I've been reporting on, Erin, is that in order the plaintiffs did want to continue this. They wanted to continue this fight, but a judge in the matter said, "Look, you've appealed a couple of times. If you're going to appeal again, you got to put up a $1 million bond, basically to protect the defendants from, this extended
Constant.
legal
Yeah.
fight."
Yeah.
So that money figure essentially ended the matter. They elected not to, because both sides were spending money on this. It wasn't one-sided in terms of the spend, but yes, that can add to the cost. Legal adds to the cost, in addition to, tariffs and steel prices and all the other
Labor
attendant.
prices. Yeah.
Yes.
All
And
goes up
so
over time.
all of those have escalated the last several years. And that's another part of the story for a slowdown in residential builds and commercial too. But, I'm emphasizing the story in part because we've spilled a lot of ink on this one, Erin, over the last 4 or 5 years at the Reporter, the Globe, other news outlets too. It's been kind of a case study in, how do you build in an urban neighborhood like ours, where there are reasonable people on both sides of this fight, but at the end of the day, we have to build more housing in our city and in our region, and right next to an MBTA station, just it makes sense to most people, I think. Transit oriented development, reduced parking, people can jump on the T there. That's the plan. This doesn't have, if any, much parking,
Yeah.
and that makes sense next to a red line station, frankly.
But that was a big part of the resistance, I think, was where are these people going to park? We're already full up on the side streets. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully people don't bring cars. If they are across the street from the red line, hopefully they will
Yeah,
do without.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
perfectly located for that, and it looks. I have to say, and I've looked at other buildings that Trinity has developed. I think we've all
Yeah.
been in them. The Caruth building, which is home to Tavolo, along with other businesses along that block of Ashmont, the Treadmark building, Jim Keefe, Patrick Lee, have been developing buildings in our community for 40 years now, and they do have a good track record. This one got pretty contentious, and so both sides, well, especially the Trinity side, said, look, no hard feelings. We just want to get this thing built. We love this community, and I think it's going to take some time, but hopefully, everybody will be friends again soon.
Yeah. A lot of development coming into Dorchester. We shared on our Instagram page this week, the massive development that's coming to Morrissey Boulevard. So we'll talk about that probably closer to, groundbreaking and what that's going to mean. We are actually in active conversation with the MassDOT to talk about Morrissey on the podcast. So hopefully that will be part of that conversation. But it's good to see development. Obviously comes with a grain of salt, but
Yes, for
yeah.
sure, for sure. So yeah, lots to talk about. And next week we're going to be looking, more closely at, we've got several stories go back into District 7, which is another potential recount. We'll be talking more about, the at-large race, some interesting, contests there with the outcome last week's election. So more politics to come, but definitely more development. And one of the things that's out there is the Kearney Hospital site. Be watching for that to come more into focus in the next month or so, I'd say. We're actively doing some reporting on that now, but there's certainly going to be news coming, I would say, this fall, as that comes more into focus, what will replace Kearney Hospital.
Yeah, that sounds good. Did Yahoo decide he's not a podcaster?
I think Yahoo will be back, and
Okay.
he has that was his inaugural Dot Life pod, but he's no stranger to other pods and other media. So we're lucky to have him on the team, and I think you're going to see him. I don't think he's going to want to talk football with you. So sorry to disappoint. We got to find somebody on
We
the
got to
team
get Cassidy on because she'll talk
Yes,
football.
Cassidy will talk your ear off on sports, and I think that's Cassidy McNeely, one of our staff reporters, and Seth Daniel knows his football. So
Okay. All right.
on too.
We'll get them on as the season deepens. One more thing before we go. I did go to the Nightly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good. We talked to the chef a little bit and, talked to the server about what the plans are in the space. They're still working on it. He does have Anchor Bar buffalo wings on the menu, which I approve of that. That's a Buffalo, institution. It was good. It was a beautiful night. Think there's more to come, but I recommend it. It's
Did you
great
sit
week out
outside?
there. We sat outside until about 10:30, and then it got a little chilly, so we moved inside, and they accommodated that. So yeah, it was good.
Well, thanks for the recommendation. We are going to check it out, and it's always good to have new options in the neighborhood. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
we will see you out there.
Awesome. Well, I will be back in town by the weekend, so hopefully I'll see you, and if not, we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Bill. Life is sponsored in part by the Dorchester Reporter, Dorchester's own community newspaper and online home for all things Dorchester at .news.com. The Reporter, owned and operated by the Forry family, has been laser focused on Dorchester and the surrounding neighborhoods of Boston since 1983. That longevity and experience shows in its award-winning coverage every week. The Reporter is our go-to source for authentic stories about the people, places, and events that matter most to our daily lives. We are proud to partner with The Reporter and .news. And you can support the important journalism provided by The Reporter. Just go to .news.com to subscribe today. It's the best deal in town and helps keep our local community journalism alive and well. Welcome back to .life. I am lucky enough that I get to travel quite a bit, and I go throughout the country and throughout parts of the world, and I find a lot of really exotic things in some places. For example, happy hours. I will find places that are open past 10 o'clock. Lots of things that we don't necessarily have in Boston. And sometimes I wonder about that. As I'm thinking through it, I'm like, well, who would I talk to about what we do and don't have as our nightlife scene in Boston? And I found Corean Reynolds, who is the director of the Office of Nightlife Economy here in Boston. And Corean, thanks so much for joining. I know that a lot of what we're going to talk about today, you've been dealing with head on for the last year and a half. And some of it is completely out of your control / out of the city's control. But we're going to get into some of these issues that people experience in Boston and then some of the exciting things that are happening. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've also been lucky enough to be joined by Kurt McLaughlin, who is a managing partner at Sorrel and Lime, which is a newly opened event space on Blue Hill Avenue. Thanks for coming, Kurt.
Thanks for having me.
And you guys just opened in February.
Yes, brand new. A lot of sleepless nights in February.
I can imagine. And more to come, I'm sure.
Yes.
So before we get into, nightlife in general, let's, if you don't mind, Corinne, just give a little overview of yourself, your background, and then what you do in this position.
Yeah, so I'm a creative by nature. I grew up singing and performing and doing gigging, and then that kind of led me to urban planning, believe it or not, because I took a Urban Planning 101 course in college, and I said, well, I wanted to change the world through music, but I can also do it in a different way through economic development and community development. And then I came to Boston from Chicago in my 20s, and I was trying to find my way. In Chicago, I had my bars, and I can go anywhere that and feel comfortable. But when I got to Boston, it felt a little different, and I couldn't find my space, and that kind of drives me under in my work in an undertone of ensuring that Boston has spaces for everyone.
Yeah. And
then I worked at the Boston Foundation for some years, and I was able to invest in our small businesses, doing economic inclusion, grant giving, and thinking through how we can invest in small businesses, invest in the resources for small businesses so we can grow our communities economically. And that kind of made a stone soup or a perfect storm that led me to this role.
Well, we are excited to have you, and I think you've been called the Nightlife Czar. I don't know if you've heard that.
That's what they call me, but it's not my title.
Well, we call Phil Eng from the MBTA Train Daddy, so maybe you should be like Nightlife Mommy. I don't know. Let's keep workshopping.
Let's workshop that one.
Kurt, tell us more about your background and what led you to open Sorrel and Lime.
My background is music and entertainment. Growing up, my father was a DJ. In turn, I turned into be a DJ. From a DJ to an event promoter, curator, predominantly in the Caribbean community. And it's always been a dream of mine to own my own establishment. So that led me to where I am now.
Tell us a little more about Sorrel and Lime, like how much space is there, and you're just doing private events right now.
We do public and private events.
Okay.
It's a good mix of both. It's a pretty big space. It's 2,700 square feet. We did almost a total rehaul of the place, a big renovation on it. So we do a good mix of birthday parties, of bridal showers, baby showers, public events, private events. So yeah, mixed bag.
And you're a Lower Mills person, right?
I grew up in Lower Mills, moved all around the city, but I'm currently back in that area now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about some gripes. We'll just get it out of the way. I mentioned a few of them. No happy hour. Every time I go to New York, I'm like, what is this $4 beer? Oh, right, it's happy hour. Why not? Why not in Boston? What happened there?
So happy hour is a state issue.
I thought you were going to say it's a state of mind. And I was like, actually, that's really
it's a
profound.
vibe. If you say it's happy hour, it is happy hour. No. So to change that, it would have to be changed at the state level. And we had happy hour in the past. That changed through some advocacy work through Mothers Against Drunk Driving at the time. And since then, we haven't had it. For that to change, folks like business owners and patrons would have to go to their state government officials to tell them how it could be a benefit. And when you think about it, when it was changed, we had different technology. We didn't have Uber. A big issue that they tried to combat was drunk driving, and that's always going to be an issue. And safety is the number one thing when we think about nightlife. But I think technology has changed to think about the conversation again. Again, we can't make a decision until the state allows us the opportunity to.
If the state were to change the law, is it automatic that Boston would kick back in? Or
we would have to opt in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And that decision would be made by constituents and seeing what they want.
Okay. Similar to happy hour. So the blue laws, I think, is the happy hour law part of the blue laws?
I think you can consider it one of them. We are a state built on blue laws, and so that could be considered a part of the conversation of being a more Puritan-esque light state. And a lot of why Boston doesn't have the opportunity to expand our liquor license cap on our own is because of, I guess, racism, if you say, not against Black folks, but against Irish back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a long history of how this city was discriminated against at the state level to allow folks not to have the opportunities to grow their business. And now we're seeing the trickle-down effects of that.
So they wanted to prevent Irish immigrants from opening establishments with the alcohol. So they put a cap at the state level, and that lasts today. Cool. What other blue laws? Is that also things like where you can purchase alcohol?
On certain, so all holidays, you can't buy alcohol on that day. Have you noticed on Memorial Day, you can't go to a packy and buy a 6-pack?
No.
That's why.
Oh my gosh.
So, if you drink, if you like to enjoy that on a holiday, I suggest getting it the day before.
Woe to those who don't plan ahead. Right?
Exactly. I've been in that situation.
What about costs? Because I think part of what I see when I go to different places, like the most recent city I was in that I would reference is Toronto. A lot of like really creative, interesting types of businesses that I think are a little bit of a risk. And when you're in a high cost city like Boston, it's tough to take those risks. And Kurt, I would imagine you could talk about the risk of taking a risk and a creative risk. So do you think that cost is suppressing the types of businesses that open in Boston?
That is definitely something we've heard from business owners. I'd love to hear from Kurt what his experience was, because I can talk about it from my own perspective, but we have an entrepreneur
Let's
here.
hear it, Kurt.
I guess one of the biggest things, especially in my line of work, is the liquor license. So opening it up without a liquor license is a little nerve-wracking. So you're banking on that with the hope that you actually get it. So there are businesses who are operating without it. So it's definitely a handicap situation where it's something that you need to have to be successful. So
did you have one when you started, or did you open without?
We opened operating off for 1 days, which is kind of leaves you kind of in limbo, because you can be accepted or you can be denied for an event. So opposed to actually just getting one permanently. which we actually just got recently. So,
Congrats.
Thank you.
That makes a big difference.
A huge difference.
Yeah.
A huge difference.
So I'll explain that a little bit.
Yeah,
So
please do.
what does 1 day mean? So basically you can apply for a 1-day alcohol license, and the type of license you receive is based off of the type of group that you are serving. So if it's a nonprofit, you can have a full alcohol license. If you are not a nonprofit, it's beer and wine. And so some businesses who don't have a liquor license that is permanent, that's what they have utilized in the past to get around that. I think now you're an example of this with the 225 new liquor licenses that have come through the city based off of the home rule petition that the city put out and that was granted from the state. We have created opportunities for folks who were utilizing that 1-day license process to have more sustainable growth with that new opportunity of gaining a more permanent liquor license.
And is that the same thing for entertainment licenses too?
So entertainment licenses are different, but relatively same idea. So if you don't have a live entertainment license at your establishment, then you can apply for a 1-day entertainment license until you receive the more permanent entertainment license. And people don't have more permanent entertainment licenses for numerous reasons. Zoning is one of them. So if they go into a building that's not zoned for live entertainment, they would have to get that building rezoned
for the permanent
but
they could get the 1 days.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Zoning is another one, right? So like if you're walking through some different neighborhoods around the country, around the world, you might find this random like speakeasy that's not in a speakeasy zoned area, but you could never find that in Boston. Is that something that is being addressed or thought about? I think zoning in Boston in general is quite antiquated and needs to be readdressed in general, which I know is not your purview, but is that something from a nightlife perspective that has been raised?
Definitely from our entrepreneurs that serve this industry, they've expressed zoning issues, and that's a topic that I've raised to my colleagues, and that at the city we're thinking through how do we create more zoning reform, how do we think through how to break down barriers for business so that they can thrive and not go through a lot of red tape. So that's definitely one of the topics that we've entertained. And I would say with any business, it's thinking creatively and working with us to see how we can advance you throughout the process. And that's why my role and why my colleagues exist is to be a liaison and to be a partner when navigating the system.
So what does the Office of Nightlife Economy do and not do for folks like Kurt who are trying to open businesses?
I am not a party promoter. I can definitely say that.
Only on the side in your free time.
That is not in my job description. There are two umbrellas as to how I interact. And the first one is a liaison between nighttime industries. So it's your bars, your restaurants, it's promoters, it's DJs. But it's also healthcare. It's also safety as far as fire and police and the issues that are unique tonight. Lighting on different streets to ensure that there's this perception of safety on the street, and continuing blocks. So if your business is on a block that's lit, but then there's another business that's not lit, how do we continue that to have customers and foot traffic go down that street, and thinking through different issues like that. So being a liaison to those folks, listening to their issues, and then thinking through how I can address those issues. And then on the flip side is taking what I'm hearing and working with my colleagues within City Hall to ensure that there's programming, resources, and policy to support the growth of our nighttime economy to strengthen our overall 24-hour economy.
And how many of you are in that office?
I am a part of a large cabinet, the Economic Opportunity and Inclusion Cabinet, but specifically nightlife, it's me.
Just you. That's a lot.
Well, I have great support system within the city. Like I said, my role is to work with licensing, who has a large
You're almost
department.
Are you like a dot connector?
Very much so.
Okay.
It's a lot of drawing, and it's a lot of pulling people together and saying, "Hey, this is an issue. How can we all address it together?"
Yeah.
And utilizing the systems that we have to see how we can improve them or focus them to strengthen our nighttime economy.
Do you take a lot of like feedback from citizens who are like, hey, I'm mad about this establishment?
All the time.
Yeah. Okay. That's got to be the best part of your job.
I call myself a therapist. I'm a nightlife therapist.
There we go. We found it. We found the title.
It's like, how are you feeling today?
Kurt, I want to talk more about your experience. You said you've had this idea for a long time. Take us back to when you decided, all right, we're going to move this forward into an actual process, not just an idea. What was the first thing you had to do?
Going back, the idea came from, I guess, years and years of soliciting different businesses for my events. Sometimes you were turned down, sometimes you were accepted. But you were always kind of walking on eggshells because if the event didn't go exactly how you wanted it to go, you probably couldn't go back to that venue again.
Oh, meaning so you were a DJ or
I was a DJ. I was a promoter. I did events at other venues.
Okay, so you were just sick of having to ask other
Yes,
venues.
absolutely. So over the years, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to have my own.
Yeah.
A big step in that happening was the space grant. So we received some funding from the city to make this a lot easier than so that was a huge step when we received that. Things rolled pretty quickly.
Like seed funding or
yes.
Just the space itself.
The space grant was an opportunity to use American Rescue Plan Act funds to support businesses as they were looking for brick and mortar locations, and this was to go towards starting that brick and mortar location, finding it, establishing it, and we're really proud of the work that we were able to do because we can have places like Sorrel and Lime, and it the businesses, you run the gambit. It's stores like floral stores or just environmentally friendly stores where you can refill a glass jar full of soap, but then also went to some cool nightlife spots.
Yeah. They did a good job of mixing it around. A lot of different businesses got it.
So once you had the space, had you identified the location prior to getting the event grant, or
yes,
okay?
Yes.
And what was there before?
It was a function hall, but it was closed for about 8 years before we got there. Yes, so with the space grants allowed us to do a lot of renovations.
Yeah.
We did new floors, new ceilings. We renovated the bar, the bathroom, so it was like a total overhaul.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long did that take?
About 4 months.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, about 4
I
months.
need your contractor's number.
He was great. He was actually pretty great. He helped us out a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. And then meanwhile, while this is going on, are you like working on, you got to line up vendors, you got to, I would imagine like start to get entertainment booked in, like make sure events are scheduled?
It was tough to do that because I didn't know when we were opening.
Right.
So it was a combination of...
You don't want to call somebody and be like, I can't do your bridal shower. We're not open yet.
It was about 80% focus on getting the job completed.
Okay.
And 20% kind of looking forward. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you opened in February.
We did.
And then how did you start to promote yourself to the neighborhood or to the wider Boston area?
It was a little bit easier for me because, again, I've been in this field for so long. Mm-hmm. I built a brand on my own. So getting started wasn't that hard. But we did a lot of Facebook, a lot of social media. Coming soon is what we're doing.
Okay.
And people were excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you had the grant, so that obviously helped a lot, but just ballpark, like how much did it cost to get off the ground and get running? Like for folks who are thinking about this, like what range should they have in their head as
I guess our number might be different from other people's number because what we were faced with, but for us it was over 100K.
Yeah.
For us personally, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big hurdle for some folks.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to take a gamble on the first Icelandic Malay fusion restaurant and I don't know if it's going to do anything, I might not risk it unless I can do that fairly affordably. So how do you have any advice for folks who are trying to be creative but maybe...
Yeah, I mean, the city tries to support businesses as much as we possibly can. We have a great Department of Small Business, Alicia Porcina, who's a director of small business for the city. Her and her team work closely with Main Streets. Her and her team works closely with entrepreneurs to understand the resources they need and try to provide those resources. And so if I'm a small business, I would go to them first, help navigate through some of the issues that they face when trying to open business and when they're trying to sustain and grow their businesses as well.
Yeah. What do you think of Icelandic Malay? Should I go for it?
I mean, I've never had it, but I'll try it.
It's like spicy whale. I don't know.
Spicy whale. Okay. I've said I'll try anything once.
Yeah,
if I don't
appreciate
like
that.
it after that, then I'll stay away.
I'm old now, but at one point in my life, I used to go out and often in Boston, you would get to the club, the bar at like, I don't know, sometimes like 11:30, quarter to midnight. And sometimes last call is like 12:15. So is that a state thing or is that a city thing? Like why do they close so early?
Well, each business has a different closing time. So one business might close at 10, another at midnight, the other at 2.
What is the latest they can stay open in Boston?
So 2 o'clock
2?
is the
Okay.
latest. If you have like live entertainment,
Okay.
if you have food, you can stay open later.
Really?
But if it's live entertainment and alcohol service has to end before 2 a.m. as
Okay.
well. So those are the 2 things that need to cut off by 2, but we have businesses that stay open through the night.
You could be like a 24-hour diner. You just can't serve.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
That can happen in Boston. People should understand that they can happen.
We're not stopping that. It's just not happening. Okay, got it.
We are not stopping that.
So talk about some of the programs that you've worked on you've been there since 2023.
Yes.
Right? Almost 2 years now.
2.5
Two and a
years.
half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time's flying.
Sure is.
OMG.
So what's been your priority and what has been accomplished? What's on deck?
My priority starting was to listen and to really learn what the issues specific to our nightlife economy, our nighttime economy faced. Those are unique to 9 to 5 for sure, especially depending on what neighborhood you're in, right? If you're a business in the downtown area, you might be booming from 9 to 5, but afterwards it might slow down. So thinking through how do we promote businesses in our downtown area to support them, and so listening to folks from all corners of the nighttime industries, and then moving towards really thinking through what can we test, right? The mayor in 2023 decided that we wanted to invest in nightlife. And so
Do you know why? Like, what was it from? That from citizens saying like we're sick of not having a great nightlife, or was that like the mayor saying, look, for our economy to be robust, we need a good nightlife, or is it a combo of both those things?
It's a combo, but at its core, it's to ensure we have a strong economy across the board.
Okay.
The business does not end at 5 o'clock, and she understood that. And we have great tourism and travel. We're a travel destination. People come to Boston.
Yeah.
And a part of that industry is the nightlife.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to attract and retain talent, having a strong nightlife is also a strong point in ensuring that we're investing in it. So that's the genesis of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so there had been some workings on nightlife and thinking it through, and there was some research in the past, but there was no dedicated support, a dedicated human being in City Hall to work some of the issues that they found in the past out. And so she thought that it was about time that we thought about business in a forward-thinking way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks say, hey, I'm sleeping, I'm in bed by 9:30, but we don't shut down, and ensuring that we have a good quality of life and constituent services throughout the day is really important for folks who are working at night and keeping us safe at night. So
yeah, I think that's really important that, a lot of people may do the 9 to 5, but a lot of people don't. And we do need to have a functional transit system after hours for people who are out and need a safe way home, or for people who are working and need to be able to get home. But it's a little chicken and egg, right? Like, do we keep the train running fairly empty so that people can get home knowing that if we do that, maybe more people will go out later, or do we want the crowds first and then we'll keep the trains running? Like, there's a lot of things to consider there.
It's culture shifting,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And it's going to be sticky and crunchy in the beginning, and there's going to be a lot of what ifs in
And
the
we might
beginning.
lose some money on some things.
Exactly, but there's courage in change.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do here.
How late are you guys open?
We go till 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many nights a week?
Typically, usually Friday and Saturday that we go that late.
Are you open 5 nights, 7 nights? How?
We're not open. We're kind of open as per request now.
Okay.
But usually we're open on Friday and Saturdays. If we do an event on Sundays, we don't go that late.
Yeah.
And if we do events during the week, we typically don't go that late. But we have the ability to go to 2 a.m.
And you are eventually going to be open, like restaurant service, bar service, like walk-in, or is it always going to be scheduled events?
It'll eventually be open. We don't have a kitchen, so there won't be food. But what we do now is we partner with outside food vendors.
Yep.
Some of the food trucks that you guys have for the lottery. We're doing an event on Friday, a comedy show, when we have Cool Shades, one of the food trucks coming down. That's pretty cool. But eventually we'll do 7 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, but we'll be different events, different programming throughout the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people can just walk in.
They can just walk in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Absolutely.
Especially in the area, there's not so much there. So like that's really great that you brought that in. Talk about food trucks.
Yeah. That's a new initiative that we're doing that's piggybacking off of legacy work of the mayor. So when Mayor Wu was working for Mayor Menino at the time, she was a part of establishing food trucks as an industry overall in the city. And I was grateful enough to be able to continue her legacy in this new way, right? We've had this food truck program during the day to serve daytime workers, and post-pandemic, the food truck industry took a big hit, and they haven't really been able to bounce back. And so when we're thinking about how do we serve and revive an industry post-COVID while also providing a need for folks who are working late night, like nurses and doctors, police officers, firefighters, who say, hey, I need more options at night. It can't be fast food, because these trucks aren't fast food.
No.
This is fresh food that they're providing to these folks who are working throughout the night. The late night food truck program was created to serve those two issues and address those two issues.
Yeah.
And so
where are they?
They're in 7 different locations throughout the city. They're next to hospitals. They're next to thriving nightlife hubs. They're next to colleges and concert venues. They're sprinkled all throughout. One's at Faneuil Hall. I think that's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So when folks are roaming around looking at the beautiful city at night, they can stumble upon a truck and have a chicken sandwich in the middle of the night. Nice. I've heard from concierges where it's like, people come into the city all the time looking for late night food, and now I finally have a place to turn them to. And so we're really proud of the work. And I've heard from nurses saying, thank you so much. We needed this. We look forward to it. Yeah. So we're really proud of the program. With anything, there are kinks that you have to work through. It's a pilot program. And I say pilot not because it may not happen again, because we want to give us space to learn and adjust and make it stronger in the next iteration.
How do we get a late night food truck in Dorchester?
Stole my question.
Give me a spot where folks will actually go to it, and there's no residents that will be impacted by it.
So we're not going to get one, is what you're saying. I hear you. Okay. What about the drink covers project that you initiated when you came into this position?
Yeah, having a safe nighttime is paramount, right? Yep. We are the safest city for a reason, and we want to be proactive and thoughtful about how we ensure that our nightlife is safe. And so when I came into this role and thinking through some of the issues that come up around safety, that's one of those issues is drink spiking. Mm-hmm. And to address that issue last fall, we purchased some drink covers to distribute to local businesses. and we were able to do that last fall, and we distributed like 10,000 different drink covers throughout the city so that business owners could have that as a resource for safety, and folks who are at those businesses can take some agency and be like, hey, can I grab one of those covers? I just want to cover my drink.
Yeah.
And we're not going to stop there. We're going to put more of those covers out in the street, but also think about how do we change culture and education as well about how to prevent that.
I know there was kind of a spike in, wow, I did not mean to say spike in spikes, but there was an increase in spiking incidents a couple of years ago. It seems like that's gone down. I haven't heard a lot about that. Have you seen results from this program?
I can't speak to the exact numbers, but there was at some time a lot of reports of drink spiking comparatively to other times. And so that this is to address that issue, and we continue
at least anecdotally it seems to have helped. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, great. What's next?
What's next? More safety, more food trucks, hopefully, and more of listening to businesses, more listening to our nighttime workforce, and creating policy around how we can create better work environments, how we can create better business environments, and break down those barriers that we've mentioned throughout this podcast and beyond that, to ensure that we have a thriving nightlife economy.
Yeah. You've done some standalone events, but that's something else that I think will come up in the future, right? Like, instead of establishments doing things all the time, you might have there was one I think on City Hall Plaza that was
so we were thinking through how do we imagine nightlife in the 23 different neighborhoods that we have, because as you can imagine, nightlife looks different everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, utilizing American Rescue Plan Act money, I was able to put out an open call to every single neighborhood and say, hey, what does nightlife look like in your neighborhood? Or what kind of nightlife do you want to see in your neighborhood? And we were able to invest in over 50 different events, and 20,000 people were able to experience nightlife in different ways throughout the city.
That's great. We talk a lot, obviously, about alcohol because nightlife often entails alcohol. But what are other non-alcohol related or non-bar related nightlife things that are kind of either on the radar or have been tried?
Yeah, really thinking through how we can support just businesses and the hours of operation, really thinking about the zoning issues, really thinking about entertainment issues as well, workforce, so the T, encouraging the MBTA to continue bumping that time later and later to ensure that folks are getting home when they need to and they have access to low-cost transportation at night.
Yeah. Kurt, how about your first few months experience? Has it been largely positive? What would you do differently? What would you advise anyone else thinking about this to do?
It's been positive.
Good.
Gratefully, it's been positive. Ebbs and flows, but it's definitely been on the positive end. I would suggest anybody who did this to take their time, do a lot of research. Again, what was helpful for us was my experience in the nightlife world. So that came a lot easier for me than it may come for others. So
yeah.
But yeah, the city with the space grant have a lot of resources, non-monetary resources, with licensing, with permitting. So it made things a lot easier for us as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Dorchester specifically. Are you in Dorchester?
We are.
You are, okay. So are there any other nightlife related developments that you know of coming up on the horizon in Dorchester?
Well, I can speak to the great businesses that already exist, and I would encourage folks to go to them.
Yeah.
And really support them. What I'm hearing, we have good stock, and I encourage the new businesses that will come on, partly because of the new opportunities for liquor licenses through the 225 that we recently received. Look out for those. I'm excited for those. But go out to Sorrel and Lime. Go out to Dorchester Brewing Company, Bully Boy, one of my favorite places in the city. Have dinner. And really enjoy what you have and take a stock of what is available, and then come to me and tell me, hey, I think we could use this.
Okay. I would imagine, and maybe Kurt, you can validate this or not, if you were getting a lot of requests for, like, I don't know, if you were a takeout place and you started getting a lot of orders in at like 9:30 when your orders close at 10,
Yep.
you might push your hours a little later, right? So if we want to see more late night options, we should start frequenting the ones that are open more late, and we should go to the ones that are, I mean, I'm gonna piss off a lot of restaurant people right now. We should go right before they close. So
and the city encourages folks to apply to extend their hours, and a part of that application process is showing public need.
Yeah.
And so the more we support our businesses and we're able to build that case for them, the easier it is for them to extend those hours.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if people have requests for things in their neighborhood, the direct path to you is
just emailing me at nightlife@boston.gov.
great. Love that. Last question for both of you. You can't say your own restaurant here, but you don't serve food, so I think this won't be a conflict of interest.
No.
What's your favorite place to eat in Dorchester?
Can I name more than one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned Cool Shades earlier. That's a Jamaican restaurant on Bill Ave. They have great food. I'm a big seafood person, and they cook fresh to order. So that's a plus for me.
Ooh.
We actually did a collaboration event with Comfort Kitchen on Columbia Road. That's Dorchester, right?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
And
Yeah.
they have amazing food as well. And also the Mix in Peabody Square. They do great food as well.
Yeah, good lobster.
So shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lobster's great.
Yeah.
Well, you took two of mine. What I will say, I already mentioned Bully Boy, one of my favorite places, and also Dorchester Brewing. I love Lucky Cafe.
Where is that?
Lucky Cafe is right in Savin Hill.
Okay.
And then also Ballet, who is also in Savin Hill. I get my nails done in Dorchester as well. So shout out to Pink and Pretty. Go there and get your nails done. I can name a lot of them, but the Mix, I have Southern roots.
Okay.
So where I can find fried catfish, I'm going to go.
Nice.
And that's one of my favorite.
Oh, you must be missing Frogmore.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We haven't had anybody shout out a nail place yet for the food section. So
Well, you have to think about it. Nightlife, you want to look good,
That's
right?
right.
And so
That's
you have
right.
to get your nails done.
I think this makes a whole lot of sense. I really appreciate that. Corean, thank you so much for coming and all the work you're doing to help make Boston a little more exciting and interesting after dark. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And Kurt, thank you. And can't wait to check out Sorrel online.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can't wait to have you.
Welcome to this week's Tiny Dot concert. I am here with My Name is Blue Sky. Hello, Blue?
How are you doing?
Blue Sky, rather.
Look, everybody else gets to it. So
It's so good to have you here today. You are a Dorchester resident, correct?
yes, I live in Roxbury
Oh, okay.
currently.
Near Dorchester, close enough.
Yes.
You've played Dorch Fest for the last 4 years, I believe.
I have.
And it's awesome to have you in the studio. I want to ask you about one of the ways that you promote yourself is as an autistic musician.
Mm-hmm.
You're very much embraced that part of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about how having the autistic side of you has helped with you creatively?
I think a lot of things have helped me more embrace the autism.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up, loving rock music, grunge, punk, metal, you name it.
Okay.
Indie rock, sure. And there's always a sense of rebellion in the music. There's always a sense of, us versus them. If they thought that we were freak, we can be freaks together, and everybody else would want to be freaks with us, but they can't sit at our table. Screw them. So I always seem to be very embracing of anything that shuns the larger mainstream and clearly not everyone has autism, but I'm surely there's plenty of people who are neurodivergent that do not know that they're neurodivergent.
Yeah.
This alone pretty much gives me the inspiration to go on and embrace it. It's mainly the punk rock scene. Everyone there is someone who isn't, normal. They're all a couple of, outcasted kids who got together and started a little scene, a little community, and said, this is who we are. And everybody else kind of wants to look at me like this is who I should not be.
Right.
Even if this is something that it cannot be helped. Like, this is something you're born to be, based upon your environment, based upon your disability, based upon this, based upon that. Like, this is you for life, and people want you to hate that.
But you don't hate that.
Like, what even is the point? This is who you are. You better embrace. You better find something positive about it. And I have.
I think a lot of that mentality and that mindset comes through in your music, because it's a lot about drawing attention to differences in people, but embracing those differences. Can you talk about your songwriting and your musical inspirations?
I mean, I think there came a time where I kind of questioned. I asked the question once on wrongplanet.com if autism was a music genre, what would it be? I find that I have a major interest in like synth pop, psychedelic music, new wave of any sort. Some people say that it's the music has to have a little bit of a complexity to it. Someone once said like gent or classical or like experimental music, experimental hip hop, that kind of stuff. So clearly, if you want to turn autism itself into a music genre, it would be something that just would not fit the mainstream.
Right.
Like, you will not see an autistic artist who wants to represent what autism is musically sitting next to, I don't know, Katy Perry on the charts. you're if you really want to make music that definitely lets people know what it's like to have autism musically, and if you really want to get down to that, it's not very mainstream. It's something that can either be peaceful, euphoric, or it can go haywire. Sometimes there's two kinds. There's sensory seekers and there's sensory avoidance.
Okay.
I'm the seeker. I was the kid who, of course, listened to rock music, always loved riding a skateboard. I was that kind of kid. So I grew up the kid who was interested in, getting his thrills, his excitement, just does not like to get bored. And that's something that there is something, someone who can learn a lot about themselves and who they are through this disability, and can be able to shape their lives, can be able to shape their taste, can be able to really understand themselves through this. And I found out that, genres such as synth pop, anti-folk, I forgot to mention anti-folk, just anything where it seems like, the weirdos not only can thrive, but they can actually find community in these musical genres, in these,
I think part of what you are going to be singing for us today is mostly written by you. You are your own songwriter, right? I don't think you do much in terms of covers. So,
yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of covers. I'll attempt it, but it feels a little weird singing somebody else's words sometimes. But
so how do you get inspired with your songwriting?
Sometimes I just have to make sure that the portal is open, go to the room and play it out. It usually starts with the lyrics or starts with the idea, because I never like to enter the studio. I never like to enter the room without having something to say.
Okay.
So it always starts first with the message, first with what I want to say, and then work out the music.
And you have a beautiful voice. When did you start singing? How old were you?
I was singing when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
You know, I was the music obsessive. I grew up looking at MTV, VH1, BET, Much Music, you name it. And, wound up singing songs to it as you do. And Mom would always throw me into like choir practice or anywhere, encourage my singing. I put that away until I figured out that maybe, I had a little keyboard, I had a guitar, just go on and start learning how to sing. But it isn't until like maybe most recently where I kind of really learned how to sing, like really use the power of in their singing. You can't just like sing willy-nilly, like sing from your throat, almost like really put your heart and soul into it to make it a little bit, to really make it real and to make it sound better.
You were also a big fan of poetry.
Yes.
Which we'll see. You're going to recite 2 poems that you've written today for us.
Oh, I did.
So how did you get into poetry? And do you read a lot of poetry?
I got into poetry when I was in high school. I just needed somewhere to kind of get my thoughts down, just how to express it. Even if I wasn't as confident in high school about singing because your voice starts changing and stuff. So I'm like, am I even good at singing anymore? As soon as I did that, I was like, even if I'm not, I still want it right.
Got it. Okay. So it's a good way to channel that musical creativity. Mm-hmm. And do you perform outside of Dorchfest?
Sometimes I perform live in certain venues. I want to do more performances.
Okay.
But that is up to anybody who might be looking for performers.
Great. Well, we can absolutely make sure that they see you because we're going to get to hear from you today. So
yes,
we're very excited. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Beyond a litany of struggles, it's like we learn to share a bubble. Our thoughts are energy and light up the room. There is no end to what our love can do. Magical steps across the sky away. No more regrets. We take our time and fall out once or twice, but it's yours and mine for life. Magical steps across the sky away. No more regrets. We take our time and fall out once or twice, but it's yours and mine for life. For life.
all. I go by My Name is Blue Sky, one word, no cap. And don't forget the last E. Please do not forget that. So usually when you see me, I'd always have, blue skin, some nice sky cerulean skin, right? So I've decided to leave the blue bubble and come over here to Tiny Dot Podcast, which means that I will be wearing my mask. We do live here on Earth after all. So this is a time where we can be able to recognize how much work has really gone into making sure that people can be able to live here and not be able to go through a whole lot of, madness. And it's also the day that I celebrate it is the 6th anniversary of a release called Autistic Black Pride with me and Philly rapper Savan DePaul, who are Black, LGBT, and autistic. So I will be, that was a song called Magical Steps that came off of My End, which is mostly keyboard bedroom pop. And I will be performing some more songs off of that and some songs off of other releases soon. And there will be some poetry. So I hope you do like poetry. I love it. And here's one of the songs from an old release. It is called Human Beyond Repair. I wrote it in 2014, which is supposed to be a concept album about what it's like to have autism. I viewed it from the point of view of someone who just came down to earth, is a whole different creature that nobody ever seems to really understand, and it's supposed to explain his point of view. This song isn't written from that point of view. It's written from the point of view of those who are usually the judgmental types. And it's called Anomaly Jones.
Oh no, it's Anomaly Jones, and never quite right into the dome. He's not like you and me, well how could he be more normal if he only tried? What's going on, Anomaly Jones? How are things hanging at home? How's your mom and dad control that illness yet? Oh, it's not an illness, well, what is it then? What is it then? Go home, Anomaly Jones. You're not the type I want, Your freedom is a threat, something I just don't get. You'd be better if we knocked you down some. If we knocked you down some. Oh, if we knocked you down some. What's wrong, Anomaly Jones? You need to phone your home, Anomaly Jones. Oh. Thank you. And that is from a release called Human Beyond Repair. It was originally going to be a trilogy album, but I only ever made one. I am working on a grandiose project having to do with this because there is so many things to talk about in terms of what autism is, how to deal with it, and everything that is around it. I have been working on a poetry album And I did work on a poetry album, and I currently have a poetry book in the works. The book is named The Legend of Black Superman. It was based upon when I was a kid and used to want to be Superman. Almost every kid wanted to be Superman, Spider-Man, all that kind of stuff. But, you have never seen a black Superman. Hell, some of us who weren't really comic book nerds didn't even know Black Panther was a thing until the movie. So it's almost as if my mom was trying to teach me to really see that black people or blue people can be superheroes as well. But, me, the kind of superhero I am, is a whole different situation. But before you even get to that status, you will have to go through the judgments. You will have to go through people looking at you like you're not a regular person. And I wrote this after feeling like you guys really have a thing for wanting to put down the different before you realize that it's always the different people. It's always the weirdos who winds up changing the world for the better. And this poem that I have in the book is called Freak Worship. Everyone wants to be the victim who emerged from out of his pain, years after being the one who drove the real victim insane. Everybody wants to be the standout after years of being in the box, convinced that's where you ought to stay, a popular paradox. Here we thought you worshiped freaks, but you only want his clothes to symbolize a freedom that you never got to know. Here we thought you knew yourself. Did you know others too? And how long was it since you arrived at the conclusion that they were just like you? Thank you. Okay. I have one more poem, then a freestyle. Every time I do a performance, I always freestyle songs. That's my thing. And then one more song. In fact, I don't think I'm going to be needing this anymore. And it is going to be poetry. Autistic rock star. One of the things I've always wanted to write about is some of the things that I want to see. Okay, I want to see this, even if it means that I'm really going to have to step my game up and be that. And I would love to see someone who has autism really take it to the top. I don't want to see anyone who would ever have to hide what they are, hide their disability just to get there. That's one of the reasons as to why I've always wanted to start like a little punk scene called Spectrum Core. Anyone who has autism or anyone who's on the autism spectrum can come together and have their little scene in the same way that Riot Girl exists, Afro Punk exists, Queercore exists. We could really use it because this can be more than just music, but a way to try and educate the people in the things that we go through, instead of letting those who are merely observants, have those reins. But autistic rock star. I want an autistic Lil Nas X. If not, then a David Bowie, maybe an Iggy Pop or a Joey Ramone. Hell, an HR from Bad Brains would not be a bad thing. I want an autistic rock star whose wild demeanor can be let out on stage. Somebody who can inspire those who were once like me to let loose. Those whose use of colors and musical vibes have always been a source of therapy, regulation, special interest. Use what you once couldn't control. Channel your everything. Channel your rage, channel your happiness, channel your sexy. Channel everything into an uncontainable package. Inspire others to just be free for all, to love themselves, to use themselves, to bring themselves out of a hole, or show them how to best do that. Books upon books have been written, but people don't like to read books. Some people don't anyway, as much as they like to listen to music. With music comes an audiovisual experience, a moment, an idea, inspiration. If we can use anything at all, let it be this. hopefully people over there are really taking that into consideration, because there's so many things that we need in this world.
Everything is gonna be alright. We're not giving our joy without a fight for love, for all of the above, for love. No need strife. Exist as we are for love, beauty, truth, and all that could be. Motivation for me and you. We are gonna be alright. We are gonna be alright. I just felt that in my soul, and I certainly hope that we do. No more danger, no more murder for sport. None of this. If anyone truly wants to say that they believe in God, they will believe that this is something that is not necessary, something that they can fight against. And those who are currently fighting the good fight, in little ways or in small ways, we are with you. And we love you. So it's a little unfortunate that I also have to perform this song off of The Thing, and it's called Patiently Awaiting. It's all about the feeling that we are constantly going to just wait for better to come, after more slides of regression happens. Unfortunately, some things can't be ignored. As much as we would love to surround ourselves with a thing to make sure that we stay sane as we stay informed, it doesn't always work that way. It doesn't always go away. So here's a little song. I wish I had the luxury to not believe in gravity, but so has become our fate, while we patiently await our apocalypse within the metropolis. In our minds, here we stand barely bold on soil that's been bought and sold. Bald fist by our side, with arrogance that we call pride, our undoing, our apocalypse within the metropolis. In our apocalypse within the metropolis, in our minds, in our life, within our minds, minds. Live from Tiny Dot. My name is mynameisblueskye. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Dot Life, which is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Dot Life is produced and edited by me, Erin Caldwell. Technical support is provided by Yasser Mahmood. Additional support is provided by the Dorchester Reporter and the Record Company. Thanks to Corean Reynolds, Kurt McLaughlin, Bill Forry, and My Name is Blue Sky for joining this week's show. Thank you for listening, and we would love it if you could share, subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, visit .lifepod.com for more information.